Hey guys, in this video we are going to be making the Sightseer tank top. To do this you can use a number 3 lightweight yarn or a number 4 medium weight yarn and the recommended hook size for your yarn, and I am going to be using a Red Heart number 4 medium weight yarn for this tutorial. To get started with this, you're going to want to start with a chain that is big enough to fit snugly but not too tightly around where you would like the top of your tank top to sit. I chained 105 chains to fit slightly above my bust. So again, you will want to work a chain that fits snugly but not too tightly where you would like the top of your tank top to be. And then we are going to want to make sure that this chain is straight all the way back to the first chain that we made. And we are going to slip stitch into this beginning chain. I did use a 5.5 millimeter hook, which is the recommended hook size for this beginning chain, and I am now going to switch to a 5 millimeter hook for the top portion of this top so that my stitches are tighter, and you do not have to do that if you do not want to. So for this first round we are going to start with a chain of 1, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to single crochet into the same first stitch, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch all the way around this round. When you have made it all the way around that round, you will want to slip stitch into the top of the beginning single crochet of the round, and that was the end of round 1. And you should have the same amount of single crochets for that round as you had for your beginning chain, and for me that was 105 stitches. You will now want to go on to repeat this as many times as you need to cover up your bust area, making a tube top type of top. You can, of course, increase or decrease wherever and whenever you would like to make your top fit you in whatever way you would like, whether that be skin tight or loose. I am going to make my top skin tight, so I am going to put here on the screen how I am going to work my top in the next few rounds instead of going through that with you, so you can see how I worked it to get the shape that I got, and therefore you can modify it in the ways that you need it to be modified to fit you in the ways that it needs to fit you. So again, that is how I worked the top that you see here in the corner, and how I am going to go on to work the top that we are working now, increasing by 4 stitches in one area and decreasing down to 96 stitches by the end of the top portion of this tank top. By the time that you get the tube top portion of the top done, you will want the count of your top to correspond with one of these numbers that I will put here on the screen. This is the count that is needed for the bottom patterned portion of this top. So again, when you get to the bottom of your tube top portion, you will want to make sure that your count corresponds with these numbers here. And if you don't see a number here that works for you, then you can increase or decrease in increments of 6 based off of these numbers. So again, I'm going to be working a total of 27 rounds to fit over my bust area the way that I would like it to, and by the end of those 27 rounds I am going to work mine down to 96 stitches, which corresponds with these numbers here, and you can work more or less rounds if you need to do what you feel comfortable with, again making sure that the count by the time you make your tube top portion is corresponding with these numbers. When you have worked the top tube top area to be the way that you would like it to be, you will again want to make sure that the count around the bottom of the tube top area at this point is a count that corresponds with these numbers here, or an increment of 6 based off of these numbers. My count is now a count of 96, and as I said, I did work this top tube top area with a 5mm hook, and I am now going to switch back to a 5.5mm hook for the bottom patterned portion of this top. For the first 2 rounds of the bottom patterned portion, we are going to work solid double crochet rounds. So we are going to start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to work a double crochet into the same first stitch, and we're going to work a double crochet into each stitch all the way around this round. And when you get all the way around this round, you will want to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet of the round. And again, you will want to do this for this round and the next round, the first 2 rounds of the bottom patterned portion. As I mentioned, I made this top portion of this tank top skin tight, and I would like this bottom patterned portion to go with the shape of my body. So I am going to increase in increments of 6 on these first few solid double crochet rounds. I am not going to increase by very much, so in these first 2 solid double crochet rounds, I am only going to increase by 6 stitches throughout the 2 rounds, and then I am going to increase in the next set of solid double crochet rounds by another 6 stitches. Otherwise, I am going to work this completely straight all the way down, besides the 2 increases of 6 stitches. You do not have to do any increasing throughout the bottom pattern if you do not want to, but if you would like to increase at any point to make your shirt flowy or to fit the shape of your body, you too can do that by increasing in increments of 6 on solid double crochet rounds. You have 2 rounds of solid double crochets worked. We are then going to go on to work the 3rd round. So we are going to start off with a chain of 4, which counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. So that double crochet counts for this first stitch, and the chain 1 counts for the second. So we are going to double crochet into the 3rd stitch of the round. We will then chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet into the next. And that is what we are going to do all the way around this round. Again, chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet into the next. And do that all the way around this round until you have 1 stitch left. When you have made it all the way around that round and you have 1 stitch left, we will then chain 1 more and skip that stitch, and then slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the beginning 3, and that is the end of round 3 of the bottom patterned portion. For the next 2 rounds, we are going to work solid double crochet rounds. So for this next round, round 4, we are going to start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to double crochet into the same first stitch, and then double crochet around the chain 1 space, and we are going to double crochet into each double crochet and around each chain 1 space all the way around this round. And for the next round, round 5, we are again going to work another solid double crochet round. So we will start with a chain of 2 and work a double crochet into the same first stitch and work a double crochet into each stitch all the way around the round. Again, I am increasing slightly throughout this bottom patterned part to fit the shape of my body. So in these next 2 solid double crochet rounds, I will increase by another 6 stitches throughout the 2 rounds. Again, you do not have to increase anymore if you do not want to, or at all. I am just doing this to fit the shape of my body personally. And again, after this increase, I will no longer be increasing. When you have finished working rounds 4 and 5, we will go on to work round 6. So we are going to start with a chain of 5, which counts as a double crochet and a chain of 2. And we are going to double crochet into the same first stitch. And this is our first extended V stitch. We are then going to skip 2 stitches and work a double crochet in the next stitch. Then chain 2 and work a double crochet into the same stitch. And that is what we are going to do all the way around this round. Again, skip 2 stitches and work a double crochet in the next stitch. Then chain 2 and work a double crochet into the same stitch. And do that all the way around this round until you have 2 stitches left. When you've made it all the way around that round with an extended V stitch and 2 stitches skipped all the way around, and you have 2 stitches left at the end of the round, we will then slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the beginning 5 from the beginning of the round. And that was the end of round 6. For the next round, round 7, we are going to start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to double crochet into the same first stitch. We will then double crochet around the next chain 2 space and double crochet into the next double crochet. We will then double crochet into the next double crochet, double crochet around the chain 2 space, and double crochet into the next double crochet. And that is what we are going to do all the way around this round. Double crochet into each double crochet and double crochet 1 time around each chain 2 space, and do that all the way around this round. When you have made it all the way around that round, you will then want to slip stitch into the top of the beginning double crochet of the round. And that was the end of round 7. And for round 8, we are going to go on to work a solid double crochet round. So we will start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to double crochet into the same first stitch and double crochet into each stitch all the way around this round. When you have made it all the way around that round, we will then slip stitch into the top of the beginning double crochet of the round, and that was the end of round 8. And we now have 2 more solid double crochet rounds, and we are now going to go on to repeat rounds 3 through round 8 of the bottom patterned portion until you have the length for your tank top that you would like. I'm going to go on to repeat these rounds until I have finished round 16. You of course can make your top as long or as short as you would like, But again, I'm going to go on to repeat rounds 3 through round 8 until I have completed round 16 for the bottom patterned portion part. When you have finished off the bottom patterned part of your top to be the length that you would like it to be, we will then go on to work the straps. And to work the straps, I am switching back to the 5mm hook, again so that my stitches are slightly tighter. For the straps, you're going to want to start with the slip knot on your hook, and you're going to want to come to the top of your work where the beginning chain is. So we will work on the other side of this beginning chain, and we're going to want to decide where our straps are going to be. The way I did this is just by holding this up to me and deciding where I would like the inside of my straps to start. And I would like the inside of my straps to be 18 stitches apart. You will also want to decide how wide you want your straps to be, keeping in mind that there will be a border on the inside and outside of your straps. I'm going to start out with my straps being 5 stitches wide, and for your first strap, it doesn't necessarily matter where you start it, because you can count however many stitches away you want your second strap to be. So with a slip knot on our hook, we are going to slip stitch into a stitch on the top of our work. So again, slip stitch into a stitch, and then we are going to start with a chain of 1, which does not count as a stitch, and we are going to single crochet into the same first stitch. And again, I am making my strap 5 stitches wide, so I am now going to go on to work 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches for a total of 5 single crochets, and you can do more or less depending on how wide you would like your strap to be. So with these first 5 single crochets here, that is my first row of my strap, and we are now going to go on to work as many rows as we need to, starting with a chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and working 1 single crochet into each stitch across each row, and continue doing that until you have the length for your strap that you would like. I'm going to make my strap 10.5 inches long, which is also about 45 rows long. If you would like your strap to be one width all the way across, again you'll want to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across for as many rows as you need to get your strap to be the length that you need it to be. I personally am going to start out with my strap being 5 stitches wide, and I'm going to work it that way until I finish row 4 of the strap. And on row 5, I'm going to decrease down to 4 stitches and continue that until I am finished with row 40. On row 40, I'm going to increase back up to 5 stitches, and I will continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch with 5 stitches until I have completed row 45. That way I have the same amount of rows on this side with 5 stitches as I do on the back side. Also, when I decrease down to 4 stitches, I'm going to make sure to do that on what would be the armhole side of the strap. Therefore, my strap will go outwards instead of inwards, and it would only do that because I am decreasing by 1 stitch. If you are going to decrease by 2 stitches, it doesn't necessarily matter, as long as it's on either side of the middle. You will decrease evenly, and you won't necessarily have to worry about it going one way or the other. When you have worked your strap to be the length that you need it to be, you will then finish off your work for this strap. And I like to leave this string long enough to use to sew this strap on to the back when we are ready. And here you can see at the beginning of my strap that I worked the first few rows with 5 stitches, and then decreased down to 4 stitches, and worked 4 stitches until I was finished with row 40, then increased by a stitch and worked 5 stitches for the last few rows to replicate the beginning of the strap. To work the second strap, we are again going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and I am going to have a stitch marker close because, as I said, I would like 18 stitches in between my straps on the front of my top. Also, as I said, there is going to be a border on both sides of the strap that is going to take a stitch on either side. Therefore, I am technically going to want 20 stitches in between the front of my straps to begin with before working that border on the inside and outside of the strap. So to figure out where I would like my second strap to be, I'm going to start with this first strap, and I'm going to skip 1 stitch that will be used for the border, and then I'm going to count 18 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then we are going to skip this next stitch also for the other side of the border. But I am actually going to place the stitch marker in this stitch, and that will make 20 stitches in between my straps right now, which accounts for the 2 stitches that will be used for the inside border of the straps. So now that I know where I want my second strap to be, I'm going to take my hook with the slip knot on it, and we are going to slip stitch right into that stitch where we want our strap to start. And we are going to go on to work this second strap the exact same way we worked the first one, mirroring it the exact same way. When you have that second strap worked, you will then want to go on to sew the strap onto the back of our top. So we are going to want to know how big we want our armhole to be. With my 18 stitches in between my straps and the 1 stitch on either side for the border, my space in between my 2 front straps, once the border is worked, will be about 5 1/4 inch wide. I am going to make my armhole about 6 3/4 inch wide once the border is worked around the armhole as well. You may want your armhole to be bigger or smaller, and that all depends on what is comfortable for you. And at this point, you will also want to decide how you want your straps to be, whether you want them going more in towards the middle like this, or just straight back, however you would like them to sit, which will also make the armhole bigger or smaller, so it'll all depend on the look that you are going for. I'm going to leave 21 stitches for my armhole, and that will actually be 23 stitches when I account for the stitch on either side for the border. So again, I'm going to count from where my strap ends, 23 stitches, and then I'm going to mark it again in the 23rd stitch to mark where I would like the back of my strap to start on the back of my work. When you have figured out where you want the back of your strap to be, you will then make sure that your strap is straight and come to the back of your work. And I'm going to use the string off the end of my strap to sew this on. So I'm just going to start where my marker is and start whip stitching this strap on to the back of my work, lining up the stitches as I go. When you've made it all the way across your strap, sewing that on, you'll want to go into the inside of your work with your string, and you'll want to tie this off to a stitch on the inside of your work, and then weave in your ends. And then you'll want to go on to do the exact same thing for what is your first strap, starting from the end of it here, and you'll want to count the same exact amount of stitches to the back that you used for your first strap, or what was your second strap. And again, you'll want to count the same amount of stitches to the back and mark your stitch, and then sew your strap to the other side on the back, the same amount of stitches away from the front, and again sew this on. And for your second strap, after you marked where you want your strap to start, because your string may be coming off the other end of your strap, you'll just want to line up your stitches and make sure that you start sewing in the correct stitch. When you have sewn both of your straps all the way on, we will then go on to work the border around both sides of the straps. So we are going to start on the back top of our work in between our straps, and we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to slip stitch into any stitch on the top back of our work. So again, slip stitch into any stitch. We're going to start with a chain of 1, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to single crochet into the same first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into each available stitch across the top back of our work until you get to the strap, where you will work 1 single crochet into the side of each stitch all the way across until you get to the front, where you will work 1 single crochet into each available stitch across the top front of your work until you come to the next strap, where you will work 1 single crochet into the side of each stitch all the way across this strap until you come to the back, where you will work 1 single crochet in each available stitch until you come back to this beginning single crochet of this border. When you've made it back to that beginning single crochet of that border round, we will then slip stitch into the top of the beginning single crochet and finish off our work and weave in our ends. And then we are going to go on to do the exact same thing for both of the armholes. So you'll want to come to your armhole and start with a slip knot on your hook and slip stitch into any of these stitches in your armhole. Then start with the chain 1 and single crochet into each stitch across the body of your top until you come to the strap, where you will work 1 single crochet into the side of each stitch all the way across your strap until you again come back to the body of your top, where you will work 1 single crochet in each available stitch until you come back to where you started, and you will slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that you worked and finish off your work for this first armhole. And again, you'll want to go on to do that exact same thing for the second armhole. And that's all there is to it. So I hope that that was helpful and enjoyable for you. If it was, please hit that sub, like, and bell button and leave me a comment to tell me what you think. I hope that you guys go on to create many more amazing things. And until next time, guys, I'll see ya.